So I made a post about ICE basically saying Jamaicans aren't afraid of ICE. We're not afraid of going back to our home country because our country is beautiful and we have no fear of you guys deporting us. And everybody's asking me like, oh, why don't you go if Jamaica's so much better? Why don't you move back to Jamaica? It's not a matter of me saying like, oh, I want to leave America just to go live to Jamaica, because obviously this is where I was raised in America. I was born in Jamaica, but I was raised here. I wasn't saying Jamaica was all that better than America, but what I was trying to point out is the simple fact that if everything was to crash and burn for me in America, it would be a lot harder for me to survive here than it would for me in Jamaica. You know, in Jamaica, you know, people fish, people go fishing for their food, people grow plants, people grow fruits. You know, the soil is rich over there, so it's easier for you to survive if you go hungry. In America, if you go hungry, you got to rob and steal, you got to do things illegally. You know, it's harder for you to make it out here. I'm just saying it would be a lot easier for me to survive.
I was so shocked when I found out that majority of the homeless population in America isn't mad. Like in Jamaica, if somebody is homeless, it's probably because they're experiencing or suffering from some form of mental illness. But here, the homeless people are educated. Like you could have solid conversations with them. And of course, that speaks to the ridiculous and outrageous housing prices. But I think the second point speaks to the lack of community and support. Because in Jamaica, if I have a friend or a family member who's going through a rough time, they could always catch somebody out till them figure it out. But here, they don't have that support. They don't have anywhere to catch. And as a result, they have to be on the streets. And that is mind-boggling to me.
Hey, what's up, America? Being poor in America. So I want to talk about how difficult it is to get out of poverty here in the United States, specifically if you're already homeless. So let's start with a person that's homeless, because you'll find out quickly it's impossible to get out of homelessness almost, as long as you're living in America. So when you're homeless, you have no place to live, you can't wash your clothes, you have no internet, generally no phone, and of course no means of conveyance like a car or any type of vehicle. And generally, if you're homeless, your credit score is in the shitter. So the first thing you'll want to do when you're getting out of homelessness, of course, is find a job and a place to live. But of course, you can't find a place to live without a job, right? Because every place in America that you rent has to have 3 times the income. So if it's $1,500 a month, you have to make $4,500 a month to live there. So generally, if you're going to be living in an apartment anywhere, you're going to have to pony up $2,000 to $3,000 and have a pretty decent job as well. On top of that, you're going to have a phone number for someone to call you back. That could be as little as $20 a month or as much as a couple hundred, depending on who you go through. Of course, you got to have good credit. That's right, the old credit score boogeyman has come out to get you once again. Of course, if you've ever been charged with anything, you're not going to be living anywhere. Don't forget about $600 or $800 you need for clothing, shoes. Probably need a car too if you live somewhere outside of a major American city like New York, Chicago, or LA, because there's no public transport, you see. And so I would estimate to get out of homelessness, you would need anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 in cash, plus a good credit score.
You know what's truly mind-boggling? It's not just the number of homeless people on the streets of America, it's who these people are. I mean, really think about it. You walk down a block in Los Angeles, San Francisco, or New York, and you will see people sleeping in tents, sitting quietly with their belongings, sometimes even engaging in deep, coherent conversations. They are not mentally unstable. They are not incoherent. In fact, some of them speak with more clarity, more education, more insight than folks with roofs over their heads. That's what shocks you. The clarity, the calm, the intelligence. This isn't what many of us expect homelessness to look like. As someone familiar with the Jamaican and African context, I come from a place where homelessness is largely associated with mental illness. Back home, when you see someone on the street, 9 times out of 10, people assume they're mad. They are mentally unwell, and while that's a stereotype, it's grounded in the idea that something drastic has to happen for someone to fall that far. In our minds, you don't end up homeless just because you lost your job or because rent got high. No, there has to be some kind of breakdown, a mental collapse, a serious tragedy, sharp and sudden fall from grace. But in America, in that so-called land of opportunity, people with degrees, people who've worked full-time jobs, people who can hold thoughtful conversations about politics, technology, literature, they are on the streets. And let's be honest, it doesn't make sense. It shouldn't make sense. And that's exactly why this issue deserves serious reflection. Because what's the real cause? What's the breakdown happening in that society that allows smart, educated, and capable people to end up living out of their cars, or worse, sleeping under bridges? 2 words: housing and community. Let's start with housing. Rent prices in America are outrageous, absurd. Cities are charging $2,000, $3,000, sometimes even $4,000 a month for a studio apartment. Not a luxurious penthouse, not a fancy high-rise, a basic room, a box, something many Jamaicans and Africans would consider humble. Yet in America, it can cost half, if not more, of a full-time worker's monthly income. And then we get to the other issue, the one no one really wants to talk about: the absence of community support. In Jamaica, as well as back here in Africa, if someone's going through a rough patch, there is usually a cousin, a friend, a neighbor, even your granny, who'll say, "Come stay with me until you sort yourself out, until you get somewhere to figure things out." But in America, that safety net feels missing. People are isolated, even within their own families. You fall behind and that's it. You fall all the way down and nobody's there to grab your hand. That's the tragedy we need to unpack.
And people that think say, come here, you work this, and come here, me I go 11 years now in this country, me I tell you the truth. Me never take a vacation nothing for go another state. For say me I go, I want little Airbnb or any little thing and like that. Me never travel back on a plane from me coming to this country, because me not have where to travel with. Me not have no money. Me not have no money, me not have where to travel with. Me not have it. I mean not joke and not joke thing and I just this not just do for no views, nothing. I see you or something me I telling about. Me not lie. It's a struggle to live in this place. It's a struggle. Me not joke. Give thanks me have a roof over my head. If me not go work, if my foot a pain so bad I me not go work for a day, me lose a paycheck. Plus me lose time. Me lose a paycheck. Plus me lose that my time that me keep me in my job, my points that me keep me in my job. Me have to say, Father God, please straighten my foot that me can go work daily. My life depend on this job for pay me overhead in America. Every day me tell myself, say, save me to have a house back home. Me tell the truth, save me to have a house back home. Cause me there at Jamaica, me used to do me little small business and so. Have me little cart in my yard and sell me little food and per Friday and such a day me fry me fish and them thing there. And me blend up my magnum and peanut and okra juice and Irish mash and used to sell that at Jamaica. Me live in the countryside America. Me not live like New York and them place there where you know say if you do a little thing you can get 1 and 2 support over that side. It's not easy. Me tell yourself me did have a house back home, people. Me go back home, me hand over back the citizenship and head back to my yard and go do something down there. Put up a little shop or something.
Anyone can become homeless, and these fires in California are showing us this. Thousands of people are becoming homeless essentially overnight. This is the reality of homelessness in America. When I say homeless, everyone's going to think of the guy with 50 jackets, got soot on his face, looks like a chimney sweep, but that's not the reality. 80% of people in America who are homeless because of circumstance. We call it transitional homelessness. Now, the circumstance doesn't always have to be a natural disaster. It's most likely going to be job loss or some kind of financial crisis that happens because of health. But either way, circumstance is causing homelessness. And here's the good news, if there is any. Most folks who become homeless are able to get out of it, and the pattern is always the same. Number one, they have a good network of support. Number two, they have income or savings to get out of it. Number three, they are credit worthy, so they can get a loan or a line of credit to get out. Or number four, they get some kind of financial assistance short term to get over it. But it's not true for everyone. And there's a couple compounding facts that might keep someone homeless for even longer. Number one, do they have a severe persistent mental illness that's untreated? Do they have substance use disorder that's untreated? The housing that they had probably provided enough stability where there weren't a lot of negative manifestations. But now that that housing is gone, it's going to get bad. And number two, and this is the thing that makes it worse across the country, especially California, it's a shortage of affordable housing. The longer someone is homeless, the more likely it is they're going to remain homeless. And if housing costs too much and you have unaddressed mental illness and substance use disorder, you are going to remain homeless even longer, especially here in America.
Let's get deeper into this, because the reality is homelessness in America isn't just about poverty. It's about a lack of connection, and from the outside looking in, especially from Jamaica and Africa perspective, that's the most tragic part. In Jamaica, there's a cultural understanding that life can be hard, jobs can go, and money is tight. People struggle, but even when the economy is shaky, you don't see hundreds of educated people living in tents. You don't see entire blocks taken by encampments of individuals who've worked hard and still ended up with nothing. Why? Because the safety net isn't financial, it's social, it's communal. If a man loses his job, someone in his circle steps in, a cousin, a brethren, even your old schoolmate might say, "Hey, I have a room, I'll come through." In America, that come through culture barely exists. People are encouraged to be independent to a fault. The moment you turn 18, it's like you're expected to have it all figured out. If you fall off, you're seen as irresponsible and weak. Even within families, there's this emotional distance. Grown kids don't live with their parents unless it's a last resort. And parents, in turn, don't always see it as their role to be a continued support system once their children become adults. It's heartbreaking when you think about it. I recently listened to someone say, in America, when you fall alone. That stuck with me because it points to a systemic failure, not just in economics, but in empathy. There is a deeper cultural void, one where people are so focused on individual survival that they forget what it means to catch someone else. You see, back in Jamaica, they don't always have money, but they have each other. Someone going through a hard time doesn't automatically end up homeless, because chances are somebody is going to offer a couch, a mattress, a floor, even if it's just temporary. There's a recognition that today it's you, but tomorrow it could be me. That communal mindset, that sense of shared struggle is what keeps people from falling all the way down. But in the US, that shared struggle is missing. And without it, people, even brilliant, hardworking people, find themselves on the streets. So what's the takeaway here? It's not just about fixing the economy. It's not just about building affordable housing. Those things matter, yes. But until America confronts the erosion of community, until it learns how to catch people when they are sleeping, the problem will persist. Because people aren't just losing their homes. They are losing their lifelines. Let's slow this down for a second. Let's not look away. Because we've become so numb to homelessness in America, we barely flinch when we see tents under overpasses or people brushing their teeth with bottled water in public parks. But every one of those people has a story, a past, a plan that didn't pan out. And what's most shocking is how often that story involves education, employment, and effort. The stereotype of homeless person as someone lazy, drug addicted, or mentally unstable, that stereotype is outdated. In many American cities, you will meet former teachers, former engineers, students, veterans, even former homeowners living out of cars or on the streets. These aren't people who failed to try. They are people who tried and were failed by the system around them. And here's where it gets real. The American dream, the idea that if you work hard, stay educated, and stay out of trouble, you'll make it. It's not holding up. And homelessness among educated individuals proves that, because if people with college degrees, with life skills, with ambition, if they can't afford a roof over their head, what hope does that leave for the rest? Now, let's return to Jamaica for a moment. Life is tough there too. People hustle, struggle, but there is something there that money can't buy: solidarity. It's the idea that your problem is my problem, that if you fall behind, someone is going to help you catch you up. You are not left to battle everything alone. It's this unspoken code, deeply rooted in culture and community, that no matter how hard things get, you are never truly alone. Imagine if that same energy existed in America neighborhoods. Imagine if every struggling friend had a door they could knock on. If every broke college grad could crash on a family member's couch while They figured things out. If every laid off worker had someone say, "You are good, I got you," that alone could reduce homelessness, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, because it tells people you still matter. But here's the sad irony. In a country with some of the highest levels of wealth, innovation, and access to resources, loneliness is rampant. Disconnection is normalized. People live next to each other for years and don't even know each other's names. And in that cold, quiet distance, people fall silently, invisibly, until they end up on the pavement. So, what's the message here? This isn't about pity. It's about perspective. It's about realizing that homelessness isn't always a sign of laziness. Sometimes it's a sign of a society that has forgotten how to look out for its own. Yes, rent is too high. Yes, wages are stagnant, but those are symptoms. The disease is isolation. The disease is culture that teaches people to stand alone even when they are crumbling. That's why this conversation matters. And that is why this conversation matters. Guys, drop a comment as always. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. And also remember to subscribe, like, and share as well. And until next time, bye-bye.